Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
You know what? I think that I was divinely appointed to be here today because a couple of weeks ago, I told you I did not have a joke, and I did, and I forgot all about it. And it's such a good joke that I had to live to do this. I love this joke. All right. Oh, let me go get my jacket on. What kind of a rinky-dink operation you running here? Okay. Did you hear about the new store in New York City? It's called the Husband Store. You can only visit each floor one time. You can continue up a floor, but once you go up, you can never go down. Each floor increases in value. You can pick any item on a floor, but only from that one floor. On the first floor, the sign read, "These men have jobs." And the two girls that were on the elevator said, that's pretty good, but I got to get better than that. Second floor said, "These men have jobs and love kids." And they're getting excited and say, "That's pretty cool. Let's go on." Floor 3 said, "These men have jobs, love kids, and are extremely good looking." And so they were really liking that, and they said, "I got to go to the fourth floor." The fourth floor sign said, "These men have jobs, love kids, are extremely good looking, and help with the housework." And so they were saying, this has got to be the creme de la creme. But we're going to go on to the fifth floor. So the fifth floor read, "These men have jobs, love kids, are good looking, help with housework, and have an incredible romantic streak." So the women said, "Oh my God, and what has to be on floor 6? We just got to go. That's just beyond imagination." So they went to the sixth floor, and the sixth floor sign said, "You are visitor 45,342,067. There are no men on this floor. This floor solely exists to prove that women are impossible to please."
Amen.
You can get yourself in trouble on that one, Bill. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad to be here today because I've got a talk that's called, the title is Revitalize Your Life. And of course I thought of this because I wanted to kind of weave into what happened last week as far as my health. And I'm extremely healthy. There's nothing really wrong with me. I did have blood clots in my lungs, and they call it pulmonary embolisms, and they call them PE in the hospital. But anyway, they said I had acute pulmonary embolisms, and of course that set them off on a lot of tests and everything. And they still don't know what happened as far as what caused it, but they do know that they're going to keep looking until they find it. So we're fine. We just have to do what they say until we're cleared to go 100% again. So anyway, and this talk is about revitalizing your life. And we can revitalize our life at any time. But what we have to do that is a few things. We have to think about what we're doing as good. I look at this whole situation, what I went through, as a wonderful blessing. And a lot of people think of it differently, but I look at it as a big blessing. There's a lot of blessings in it. It's been a while that I have been having some, feeling like, and of course I attributed it to age, but feeling like I couldn't do as much as I used to do. And that's what I was attributing it to, age. And I don't know that actually was it, though, because, for quite a while I've been less with stamina. And usually, and I know that a lot of people know this for their own experiences, usually, and when I was younger, what I would do and what that would signify if I was low on stamina was that I wasn't in shape. So I'd do more and more to try to get back in shape. And I know anybody who's been an athlete knows that that's what you're supposed to do when you're out of shape, is get back in shape. So I would keep going. But a couple of weeks ago, I noticed, more than a couple of weeks ago, it's been a while actually, that I was getting short on breath and without doing too much. And I thought, well, this is just weird. So I called the doctor whenever it was, on a Monday, And she had thought that since I had an ache in my back and around my shoulder blade, I was asking her on the right side, so I wasn't worried about my heart really. But she said that it was probably a muscle strain since I could move and it would hurt, And so we decided just to work it out like you do sometimes. But then later on that week, on Friday, I was working across the way here, and I was putting the floor down, the new floor, and a couple of rows, and I was sitting there out of breath, and I wasn't doing that much, and I thought, heck, this is ridiculous. And so I went home, and I thought, well, I'll go home and eat breakfast and see if that's the problem. I went home, and Francie convinced me to call the doctor, which is another blessing that happened from this. And I called him, and he said that go on to the hospital and have it checked out since you're short on breath. And so, of course, when I went to, the urgent care, they'd never send you to the hospital anymore if they have a choice, I guess. But anyway, I went to the urgent care, and they, went all crazy on the whole deal. In fact, it was kind of funny because they took some blood and looked at some scores. And they said, we're going to take some blood again. And I said, why is that? And he said, because something's out of whack. And it read that your something was out of whack. And they're thinking, well, the score's got to be wrong. Well, they did it again, and the score was a little bit higher than that, which is not supposed to be high. It's supposed to be a range around 20, and it was 70. And then the second one was 72. And so then the doctor came in and looked at me like, oh, are you alive? I thought, okay, no problem here, but you're looking at me weird. Anyway, so we went through that, and everything's good now. They got me on blood thinner, and after getting a lot of things done, we're okay. But we have to, things like that can make you think about, well, what should I do? And another blessing that happened before I went to the hospital was at the urgent care was a guy told me, and I know that this is going to be easy to understand for y'all, but I just don't think about it in those terms usually. The guy said, he wasn't a doctor, he said, your body is telling you something all the time, and you need to listen to it. And I do know that, but I don't really, anyway.
Adhere to it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't adhere to it. So I'm going to be better at that now. Just listen to what things are saying to me. And that happens all the time in all parts of life, and that's how we revitalize our life. Do we look at things like some people could look at this, and I'm not one of those people, and I hope you're not either, and say that, oh man, that's terrible that happened and all this. Well, it's not terrible. It's something that was something that happened, and it was just telling me something that I have to change a few things, and that's fine. So we do have to change things in life sometimes. But we can look at it as a good thing or a negative thing. And it's not like the joke I told about the husband store. We can go back and change things. We can revitalize ourselves without having to lose anything, but we do have to change some things sometimes. To revitalize ourselves, though, we have to recognize and affirm that the power that we have. And we can never, in my opinion, understand fully how the human body works unless we understand what's working in the human body, if you follow what I'm saying. And if you don't recognize the spiritual aspect of your body, then you'll never understand how the human body works, because each one of us is different. Even though there are things that work for most of us, there are things that don't work, that are different about us. We were talking about the COVID shot, and that's one of the things they were asking about, when was the last time I had COVID? But anyway, we're talking about the COVID shot. Well, the COVID vaccine, and I know, and it doesn't make a difference where you stand on this is just the truth of the matter, is that, because we've had people in our congregation, majority of people who had the COVID vaccine, no problem. But some people did have a problem with the vaccine itself. And so we can't, if we're one of those people that are the same except a little bit different, then we have to recognize that, but we have to recognize where our power is coming from to change that. And our power is coming from the light within. God within us allows us to have the power to do anything as far as not only physical, but also in our spiritual understanding. So each part of life that we're doing just is a new opportunity for us to grow spiritually, I believe. And so Fillmore talks about this restorative power, and I'm going to let Maria read that right now. You have the mic?
Yes. A restorative power of nature is the term given by doctors to the spirit of health, which is always right at hand, awaiting opportunity to enter in to make whole and to harmonize all discords in the body.
And so if we read that and we understand that we can restore, remember what how Unity was started with, Myrtle Fillmore healing herself. And, you know, I say that with an understanding that you know that she's restoring her body through her faith and through her understanding of the spirit within. But remember, she had tuberculosis, what we call now. They used to call it consumption when she was around. But it was a death sentence back then. And obviously since then we've come up with vaccines and all these things that are wonderful. But we have to understand that she, at that time, didn't have that vaccine. So she had the opportunity to heal herself and was able to do that through her faith and through her spiritual understanding. But, you know, when I was in the hospital bed, and boy, I tell you what, I don't mind shots. I give blood regularly and everything, and they're bigger needles than what they use in the hospital to get the blood and all that. And they don't even call that anymore with that IV that they have in you. You know, I used to call that a shunt, but that isn't really what it is. Anyway, whatever it is, you know, they kept poking you. And, I mean, at one time I had somebody take blood. This was probably 4 in the morning. And then about 10 minutes later, another girl comes in and said, I need to get some blood. And I said, you just were in here. Or not she, but I said, the lab was just in here 10 minutes ago. And she said, well, the doctor wanted this stat. So anyway, it's a lot of poking. In fact, you'd think that you wouldn't want that, but I was so tired of getting it in my arm here, because at the hospital at least, I thought that they'd just get it out of here, but they had the IV in there, but they kept poking. In fact, I would wanted them to put a shunt in this arm to quit poking me all the time. But anyway, they ended up putting it in the hand. You'd think it hurt, but it didn't hurt that much. Anyway, when you're getting poked and you feel like a guinea pig in there, a lot of thoughts can come into your mind. But what kind of thoughts are you going to allow into your mind? You know, you're gonna think about, well, this is the end for me. You know, they showed me some pictures, and that blood clot on one of the lungs was really blocking up the air valve, really a lot. And so, what am I going to think about? Am I going to focus on I'm losing air, I can't breathe, or am I going to focus on I'm gaining strength to breathe better? And so that's up to me, and that's not up to them, not up to what they do, but it's totally up to me. And so when we get caught in this, we have to lean on something, think about something, whatever we're going to think about. And, you know, when I was hoping that Giselle was here today, because when I was writing this, I was thinking of Anne, her daughter-in-law, who's had, you know, some health challenges. And I was thinking about what are we going to focus on? It's hard not to, when you're in pain, it's hard not to focus on the pain. I understand that. And we need to be able to be strong enough to understand that the body is responding to what we tell it to respond to. I know that's hard to understand sometimes and hard to do sometimes. But one of the things that I was thinking of is, you know, I told everybody before that everything that we experience in this physical body is written about in the Bible, believe it or not. And so this is what I was thinking about from Psalm 119:50. And the Psalms are to me, so funny because it's a big book, of course, but there used to be songs that the people would sing. But that seems to have most everything that you could think about. But this is what I think of. This is my comfort in my affliction, that your word has revived me and given me new life. And so when I think about, and the word meaning God, so when you think about what you're going through, whatever it is, whether it's a physical affliction or something else, mental, whatever it is, you know, you can think about, what am I going to lean on? Am I going to lean on whatever the doctor says? Because the doctors never were negative. I loved them. I thought they were great. but they were concerned and they were, trying to figure it out, and they couldn't figure it out, and they still haven't figured it out. But they were confident that once I got on the blood thinner that it would all take care of itself. So then, like I say, you think about things, and then when they put me on blood thinner, I was thinking, well, this is just what I was thinking, and I didn't know, so I had to ask. I said, well, if you put me on blood thinner and those clots, because there's a lot of them in my lungs, but there's the big ones that they're concerned about. Anyway, I said, well, wouldn't that make them move around? If you put me on blood thinner and go somewhere where it could hurt me? Because I was concerned about my heart. My heart's 100% though, it's no problem at all, it's real strong. But so she explained to me, well, she said, no, it's not like that. That's not how the body works. And this is just another amazing thing about the human body, how wonderful it is if you think about it. She said with blood clots, if you get on a blood thinner, what happens, you have to think about it, she said you have to think about it like a bruise. When you get a bruise on the outside, it goes away after a while. It isn't because that it expels it necessarily, but it's because the other cells heal it. And so it's wonderful to think about, the blood clots that I have are not going to cause me problems. They're just going to slowly go away. And I know that's kind of hard. That's not a technical term, but that's exactly what she was saying, and I really liked it. I appreciated what she was saying. So many times, though, in life, we have to recreate to revitalize our life. And what I mean by that is we have to, they told me I can't do anything for 2 weeks. Well, we'll see about that. But
what was listening to?
I'm trying to listen to him. I've been good. I've really been pretty good. I've been pretty darn good. So I'll get a clean bill of health, but I'll do things a little bit different. I won't do as many, as much physical things as I have been doing, and I'll have, I'll get a crew and let them do the real physical things. So, but we have to think about what our life is and how we want to live it. So, which is fine, because there's a lot of things here that aren't as physical that I need to do that I can refocus my attention on when we get the physical stuff done. So I want to let you know about what Fillmore said about recreation, and Jim's going to read that.
Recreation, the process of redemption. Recreation, the process of redemption, a gradual transformation that takes place as man pays the price, gives up self, and allows more spirit to work in mind and body.
And Fillmore, that's great. Of course, he still has the, now I'm forgetting the word, but anyway, the male talk in it, but he means human, not man necessarily. But what he's talking about there is interesting. I'm sorry, I didn't switch it. Is that I know that we when we hear pay the price, all that is giving yourself up on certain things. Like I know I can't, still, beat a 20-year-old in a race or anything like that. I know that, and I have to even. Okay.
Accept it.
Yeah, I have to get better about accepting that and being okay with it. So, but it's kind of like the word surrender. Sometimes we get offended, I guess, by that. And it's not about surrender. It's about really releasing something that is not a part of your life anymore. When we go up in our spiritual understanding, that doesn't mean we necessarily lose the things that we've already learned, but it means it's time that we add to it and learn more things that are more beneficial to us in this time of life. And so during the revitalization process, we sometimes have to do things that we are not familiar with. And one of the things that I wish they would do, and I still haven't seen it, is be able to flavor tofu to taste good. They still have not done that, and I had this conversation with people. I know that there's people out there who probably disagree with me, The Incredible Burger at Burger King does not taste like the Whopper at all. I don't know how many times I have to tell you that, but it doesn't taste like the Whopper. And so I know that the Incredible Burger is better for you, but you have to also make it taste good. So there are things in life that you don't maybe not familiar with, maybe you don't want to do, but you can do and get yourself back in good physical shape, because we want to continue to go on. Now there are also things that I've said in the past that, as far as our spiritual understanding, that we have to kind of understand a little bit better. I was going to say take it with a grain of salt, but that's not really what I mean. I mean just understand it a little bit better, because I want Sue Ann to read something from Fillmore's Revealing Word too.
Is it on? Vain repetitions. When we rehearse affirmations just because they are given to us to hold, with no thought of their inner reality, or if we are in a doubtful state of mind, they become vain repetitions. It is true that a declaration of truth may not at first repeating find lodgment in consciousness, and that we may repeat it over and over before it becomes a living word. But the attitude of mind as we go through this process is the seed that bears fruit, the assurance of the harvest. Nothing outside of man can affect him when he is in contact with his inner spiritual source.
And so, thinking about that, I wanted to say that, because I've said many times before that even if you don't believe something, if you don't believe an affirmation, you can say it, continue to say it, and it might sink in, which it does, it can. But there's also the other flip side of it. You can say it till it's rote, and all you're doing is saying it, not really understanding it or meaning it. So we have to be open to new ideas, especially in our spiritual understanding of what we are growing into. Because there are so many spiritual things that are yet to be discovered and understood by us in this human experience that we can grow to if we allow it to be. But if we don't allow it to be, I think, and to be quite honest, I think that's why this physical event has happened to me, this medical event has happened to me, is because I've been too focused or too stuck in the physical, and I need to reassert more into the spiritual. And so when we're talking about vain repetitions, all of us can do that. You know, you've seen, I don't think that we do this, but I think some people can get used to it. You know, the prayers we say at the first of the service, the song we sing at the end of service, you know, all that stuff can become like, doesn't mean anything to me anymore. And it doesn't have to be that way. So we need to be open to the idea and the fact that we are still growing and we can continue to grow. Because there's no reason to say prayers that we are opposed to or not open to. And, regrettably, one thing is, what happened yesterday or last night. If you're going to say a prayer for the former president and not mean it, don't say it. Okay? But then if you are saying a prayer for someone and you don't mean it, then who does it say something about? It says something about us. We have to be open to being able to pray for everybody. Not just ourselves, not just the people we like, not just the people we agree with, but we have to be open to say prayers and believe them and mean them for people that we don't agree with. I think that's the best thing to say it. Which, I know that gets to some people, a lot of people, but I say prayers personally, and as far as that, is I say prayers for, and I know that we all do, say prayers for our country, but when we say that, and in our political climate and all that, but when we say that, are we saying that actually to improve the country, or are we saying it to, I hope everybody starts believing like I believe? We have to, and that's all on us. And so in order to grow as a humanity, as a spiritual community, then we have to be able to say prayers for everybody that is in need. I mean, this morning, and I know this is kind of weird for some people, I even said a prayer for the shooter. And I know that's weird for a lot of people. But you know what? If that was your kid, what would you be doing? And I'm not trying to justify anything, believe me. I'm just saying that we have to be able to pray for everybody, okay, and mean it. Because there's no need to say prayers that we are opposed to or not open to. We have to open our minds to, we are all a child of God, all of us. There are, it's interesting how life just happens, you know. This week there was someone that was, and this has been many years ago, and of course, it is what it is. When I was going through LNO, which is licensing and ordination, there was this unity minister that was just it was just the weirdest thing. She was so mad at me during interviews. I mean, like, whatever, lady. You know, I mean, what can I do? I mean, she got mad at me, and you're going to laugh at this probably. She got mad at me because, you know, I've been raised in unity, had great unity ministers, all the top, you know, the top unity ministers I had. And it was just great. It was wonderful. It was really great. And so during this interview, I think this is the very first interview I had, so that set off the whole thing. Anyway, I said, and I don't know how it came about, but I said, I just do not like it when a minister gets up there and cries. And if you know me, regrettably, I've cried a few times. So she just went off, though. She thought, oh my God, you're kidding me. Anyway, so, but at the time, that's what I believed. And I still kind of believe that, to be quite honest. But I am open to accepting that when that happens. And accepting the idea that maybe it was sincere. So, you know, when we get into those situations where we are thinking about, because I know this probably happened to you too, but a lot of times it's happened to me, is a lot of things that I've been through when I was younger and I was really strong on it opinion-wise have changed a lot because I've experienced that. And it's just like I was saying earlier on that shooter. If it's your kid, it's a whole different story, isn't it? Now, it's not that they're condoning anything, and I'm not saying they are, but it's their kid, you know. I have a friend that was on the board of a lot of boards in unities. In fact, on the big board of the village. And he has a son and was very proud of him. He was he was pretty conservative in his younger years. And he was anti-gay. And he would even say, you know, things like that were crude. And then one day, I don't know how old he was. He was in his, you know, still a young adult. His son told him that he was gay. I apologize. Just told the story about crying.
It shows you're human.
Anyway, the only reason that I'm getting emotional about it is I really love this guy. But it turned him totally around. I mean, it changed his life. And I was so proud of him because he didn't say like some of us have in the past, to hell with you, goodbye, see you later, you know, which a lot of people have in the past, haven't they? If someone comes up to you, no matter how much you love them, they come up to you and say something like that you totally disagree with, then you just say to hell with them. But he didn't. He said, I love you, son. And that was just a huge thing for him to say. And I guess, you know, putting it in perspective, since you all are being my psychologist right now, putting it in perspective, I guess I can look at my own son and say that. You know, I don't like some of the things he's done, but I love him no matter what. I'm not going to stop being in his corner. And even though that may be whatever everybody, the society says, right or wrong, I'm going to continue to do that. So we have to be open to new ideas. We may be, and that's what I was saying, there's been some things in life for me that I have been very staunch on. And I'm not that way anymore. I probably am on some things, but hopefully I don't have to learn all those lessons. Please, God, don't make me learn all those lessons. Because, usually it's kind of like the old saying, walk a mile in someone else's moccasins and you'll get a different viewpoint. So we have to consider that. Doesn't mean you have to agree with something, okay? Let me be clear. Doesn't mean you have to personally agree with something. But it does mean that you have to recognize that they are a child of God too. So, let's not say prayers that we are opposed to or not open to, but let's try our best to open up to everything. Not because you agree with it. We have to relax and allow God's goodness, our spiritual self, to take over. That's a cute picture, isn't it? I've never seen a frog do that. I don't know if that's a real picture or not. Anyway, unless he's dead. But we do have to relax and allow God's goodness, which is our spiritual self, to take over. And I was blessed. I was able to relax. I guess you kind of have to in the hospital because, when they're sitting there waking you up every two hours, it's kind of hard. But if you just focus on resting like they told me to, which I did, then you can get through things a lot better. But it takes not only physical control, but it takes a lot of spiritual control. It really does. And so relaxation, Fillmore has something to say on that, and Lyric has something on that.
Relaxation, a letting go of tenseness in mind and body, abatement of strain, loosening the tight mental grip we have on ourselves in order that the healing Christ life may flow freely through our being.
Go ahead and say the Bible verse.
Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28.
And I like what Fillmore, not always, but a lot of times he'll throw in the Bible verse that pertains to that, which I told you, like I said even earlier, that everything in life, there's a Bible story to it. When something medical especially happens to you or to someone you love, just like I have, all of a sudden you're on Google or whatever engine you use to search to find out all about that, aren't you? We're all about that. So, Francie did a good job. I feel for her because she was, she had a lot of things going on. And I was up there just, let me just get my next shot. Anyway, but we try to do that and we learn a bunch of stuff about different things, which is fine, but, we're not set to do that. That's not really what we can do. We need to allow people who have studied that for a long time to do what they do best, is to treat that and to relax ourselves, relax our body, our tenseness, to release and let go any types of negative outcomes. And, negative outcomes can vary. I've talked a lot about regeneration. I still believe that 100%. Yet, I also have talked about the idea that there are different types of best outcomes for people. If someone is in pain 100% of the time, it can't be relieved for whatever, their body's not coming back, whatever the situation is that's extreme, the best outcome might be going into another form of life. So we have to relax and let our body and our spirit tell us what is best for us. Because our spirit, mind, and body are relaxed and revitalized when we're expressing the Christ within. And that's what I think that we can easily, we can easily do if we are able to relax and let go of any type of preconceived notion that we may have, because we do come up with we get anxious when we hear something as far as medical or anything. When my mom had cancer, when I found out she had cancer, of course we looked at all sorts of things, and there's just, you know, a plethora of things that you could look at on cancer or anything really anymore. But you have to relax and let be what will be. So, I hope that we can choose to relax and revitalize our life by stating this together. Together, please. I choose to relax and revitalize my life. Thank you. God bless.